We all make mistakes. It's inevitable and out of your control. However, how you react to and act upon your mistakes is what's in your control and is what you can use to your advantage. By react, I mean how a mistake you just did. Wait, do a mistake? I mean make. Sorry for my bad English. When you react, you have a reaction, which comes from your feelings. When you act, you take action. So when you make a mistake, just go and fix it and you'll never do that mistake again. Someone a long time ago said to err is human. And again, how you react to and act upon your mistakes is what matters. If to err is human, to admit it is superhuman. It's just one of those internet quotes, but there's some truth to it, right? Anyway, there's a lot to unpack when we start to reflect on the inevitability of mistakes and the opportunities that they present, and how we can make the most out of those opportunities. So I've compiled a few ideas that I'll share with you in this video. But before we go any further, give this video a like and subscribe to the channel. I would love to be there every time you make a mistake, you fall down, I'll extend my hand and I'll tell you, relax my friend, everything's gonna be alright. Now get up because there's work to do. You see, I just want for you to be able to fully express yourself in English with confidence so that you're in control and are ready to level up in your career and life. Experience the world through English and leave your mark in it. Sounds like something you want to do? Well, you know what to do. Like and subscribe. Now let's dive in. Idea number one is reframe the mistake. Yes, mistakes make us feel uncomfortable. That's just how it is. In fact, I think that's a sign of a dedicated learner, because if when making a mistake you don't feel some level of discomfort, it just means that you don't really care, and it's hard to improve when you don't care. There's something to be thankful about when you make a mistake, and that is that you can take it as an opportunity to learn. When you make a mistake, accept it, own it, and see it as a learning experience. That's how you reframe a mistake. You go from feeling bad about it to seeing it in a positive light. Idea number two, get feedback. When I was starting to learn English, I loved getting feedback on my writing. I think it's a very helpful way to get the language right. It's an opportunity to reaffirm the things that you say in a correct way and to get your mistakes fixed up. Take this example. Imagine you wrote this. So when you wrote it, you weren't sure if this was the right word to use here. You asked someone for feedback and you got this back. You learned that, yes, you can use happens in this sentence. There's nothing wrong with it. This word gets reinforced and your mastery of this word goes up. And then you think, wow, I did not doubt this word. However, it turned out to be incorrect. Yes, I should have written every here. I see it now. So your English got a tiny little bit better after this. Here's the thing though, not all feedback is direct like this. You have to be attentive to other ways in which you can get feedback, like from the situation, from the context, from the conversation. One important such way that you can get feedback is through interaction with another person. Say you're talking with someone about a deadline, and this deadline for an assignment is no longer on Friday, now is on Wednesday, a little bit closer. You say the deadline got advanced, but you're not completely sure that's the correct way to say it, and you instantly notice that you get a confused look from the other person. Here, one of two things is going to happen. Either you're going to pick up on that confusion, you're going to see that they are, looking confused, and so you're going to want to rephrase that, and probably you're going to go for the most literal way that you can say it. You're going to say, so it's no longer on Friday, the deadline now is on Wednesday, it got closer, or something like that. It's not ideal, but at least it's going to be clear. The communication, the message is going to be clear, and the other person is going to understand you. Again, the whole thing is going to feel a bit awkward, but again, reframe the mistake and look at it in a positive light. What can you do with it? How can you learn from that mistake? Well, take a note of it, take a mental note of it, and when you have time, Google the right way to say that the deadline gets advanced. Maybe that's not the correct way, and so you're going to look for the right collocations, the words that we use to talk about a deadline. This is the kind of feedback that you get in an indirect way, and you have to be attentive in order to notice it. The other thing that could happen is when you say the deadline got advanced, the other person is going to check if they understood what you meant. And so the look of confusion is still going to be there, but you might be given the answer. You mean it got moved forward? And that's great because you're probably going to remember that. So when it comes to feedback, seek out direct feedback, get a teacher, ask a more advanced friend, ask for a correction on your writing on the internet. Some people might be willing to provide that to you. And pay attention to indirect feedback, which can come in different ways. The next idea is, how about fossilized mistakes? What are these? A fossilized mistake is a mistake that mostly shows up in speech because, everything happens so fast. It's me in the intro when I said do a mistake even though I know that is make a mistake. However, I just keep making it. You might be thinking, Max, your English is so good, you never make mistakes. Well, let me tell you, advanced English speakers still feel some level of insecurity about their English and the mistakes they make. One mistake that I find particularly bothersome is a mistake that beginning, intermediate, and advanced English speakers still make. And this is when we say something like, did you spoke to him? I didn't tell them anything. Mistakes are great when you can learn from them. But what can you learn from a mistake that you know is a mistake, but you just keep making? You try your best to correct it, but you just can't help it. These are fossilized mistakes, and I think I might have one or two good tips to share on how to overcome fossilized mistakes. But before I do that, I'd like you to take a moment and reflect on some of the fossilized mistakes that you may have. What are some of these mistakes that you know that they're not the right way to say something, but you just can't help and make these mistakes? What are some of those mistakes? Share that down in the comments below. I'd love to read you and interact with you. Fossilized mistake often exists because it comes from your first language. It's an interference from your first language. It's deeply ingrained in you. I have 4 quick tips to help you overcome fossilized mistakes. 1. Don't beat yourself up over it. You're brainstorming 2 languages or more, and some aspects of your first language are going to interfere with the language that you're learning. It's okay, mistakes like these are not going to keep you from becoming fluent and succeeding with your English skills. Tip number 2, get clear on what your fossilized mistakes are. Even make a list, become aware of them. Many times becoming aware of the problem is halfway to the solution. You can address them one by one. Tip number 3, address these mistakes. In my opinion, the best way to deal with something that you can remove and that is deeply ingrained in you is through repetition. Repeat the correct form 10 times, 15 times, 20 times if you have the patience. If it's a pronunciation mistake, repetition is especially going to be helpful. And 4, I already teased it, be patient. You're going to be able to correct some fossilized mistakes, but some of them are going to persist. If that happens, go back to tip number 1. Don't beat yourself up over them and keep trying. Idea number 4, lean into difficulty. So you are an intermediate English speaker. You can more or less hold a conversation in English. Congrats for making it this far, by the way. However, don't get stuck at this level forever. You see, a lot of people get comfortable here because they more or less can understand and be understood in English. So their sense of urgency, their motivation to keep evolving goes down. If that's your goal, if your goal is to achieve that level of fluency and proficiency in the language where you can understand and be understood, that's okay and that's great. However, I would encourage you to keep trying to make progress and to become more fluent in the language. You can do that by leaning into difficulty. Just think, what are the things that you're currently struggling with? Identify your vocabulary, pronunciation, and grammar difficulties. Get clear on what you can't do in English. A good teacher should be of help here. Once you know what your difficulties are, go towards them. It takes a huge deal of courage. I know your natural tendency will be to try to avoid these difficulties. Now, summon that hero within you and go towards that difficulty. Lean into the difficulty. Figure it out. I can't teach you everything. No one can. I can help you out with some things, but not everything. Count on me for encouragement. I can show you the way, but you have to walk it. Here's where you'll make the most mistakes, but again, remember ideas 1 and 2, and let these mistakes actually drive your progress. Once you do this, you're going to find out how the next idea is going to take you very far in your English journey. Marginal gains. So when you're just starting to learn English, each new thing that you learn is a huge gain. It's It's a big move forward in your learning, in your English journey. However, the more advanced you are, the slower your progress becomes. Here's what you need to be making these small marginal gains that in the long run are going to add up and make a difference. You can make marginal gains by leaning into difficulty, which in turn will lead you to making mistakes, which you will then use to drive your learning. Every new learning that originated in a mistake is going to be a marginal gain. Again and again, they add up, and it's like every day you become just 1% better, but just give yourself some time and you're gonna see how that difference is going to matter a lot. So the sentence that we saw earlier is a marginal gain. It was a confirmation of this word and a correction of this one. Idea number 6, quality versus quantity. Let me share the story of a photography professor that conducted this interesting experiment. On the first day of class, this photography professor divided his students into 2 groups. The left side of the class was the quantity group. They would be graded at the end of the semester on how many pictures they took. 90 would be an A, 80 would be a B, 70 would be a C, and you get the rest. The right side of the class was the quality group. They were going to be graded on one singular photo. It had to be near perfect because that was the only image they were going to be graded off of. Where are you putting your money? The quantity group or the quality group? The results shocked them. See, almost all the standout best photos that you want to look at didn't come from the quality group. They came from the quantity group, because instead of all this pressure of, I'm being graded on one photo, they spend their time taking more photos, trying new things, experimenting, getting things wrong, getting some things right. All this gave them more skills, and so they produced better results. The moral of the story is that never let perfectionism keep you from being productive in the language. Speak and write as much as you can. The practice that you get by doing that is a lot more beneficial to your learning than just focusing on one single thing until it's perfect. One of the big reasons why you want to be fluent in English is because you want to create meaningful connections with other people in English. But it's not that you first get fluency and then you create the meaningful connections, these meaningful relationships. First, you create the meaningful relationships, and then thanks to their help and thanks to the opportunities of practicing that they give you, that these meaningful connected people give you, that's how you get to a higher level of fluency in English. You just don't get that fluency that you dream of having without first having cultivated, 3 solid relationships, like 3 solid friends, 3 people that really care about you. You won't find these people unless you're willing to put yourself out there and be your genuine, imperfect self. I'll wrap this video with one last idea. That's idea number 7, perfectionism. Is it good or bad? Yes, I've been saying that perfectionism will mostly have a negative impact on your learning, on your efforts to achieve fluency. However, don't just go the other extreme. If you're here, then idea number 1 and 2 just don't work. If you don't care, you just don't mind mistakes at all, and you won't look out for feedback. Here's where you leave all the thinking for later. You abandon problems as soon as they come. You pay 0 attention to detail. You don't put any thought into clarity of communication. Your writing is not gonna be good. Of course, as I've been saying it, the other extreme, total perfectionism, isn't good either. Here's where excessive revision, hesitation takes place, nothing ever good enough, fear of judgment, nothing ever submitted, anxiety, and just a bunch of other issues. Now here's the sweet spot. Here's where care and attention is given, but you don't worry too much on the end result. This is the sweet spot that is more conducive to learning. Now it's your time to join the conversation. Which of these ideas has most resonated with you? And is there any other idea that you'd like to add? I'd love to hear about it down in the comments below. Now that's a wrap. Thank you so much for subscribing. That is one step closer to achieving that level of fluency where you can express yourself fully in English and with confidence. You got this, my friend. And here's a video for you to check out next. Talk soon.